have a very special guest with us. And for Real Estate Friday, let's talk about insurance. And what a better way to talk about this with an expert in this field. And for that, I had invited Catherine Sepulveda with John Galt Insurance, and she's gonna be helping us today, understanding insurance, how can home insurance can make or break our real estate deals. And this is a topic that is very interesting, and we should be familiar with it because it will help us be able to close more deals. So, Catherine, the floor is yours. What do you have for us?
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for inviting me. Um, my name is Catherine Sepulveda. I've been in the insurance business for 10 years and I'm a home specialist. I deal with people just like you, insurance, mortgage brokers, and real estate agents on the everyday basis, trying to close deals and learn a little bit of what we can do to leverage basic insurance information to make sure that your deals are never ruined because of insurance. So let me share my screen really quick and let me know if you can see it. Yes, thumbs up, no?
Yep, we can see it
Okay,
now.
perfect. Okay, here you go. So the purpose of this presentation is to give you a little bit of insurance basics so that you can take it out on the field and feel comfortable having insurance conversations. I'm sure you get customers, buyers all the time asking, but why is insurance so expensive? Why, if I've never had a claim in my life, have to pay this amount of insurance? And especially now that we have so many people moving to Florida that are not particularly familiar with how insurance works in the state. So basically we'll be giving you a little bit of understanding of what's going on in the market, help you understand insurance inspections, and also help you have a solution driven approach to insurance to make sure that you close with no delays. All right, so why does insurance matter? Insurance matters to you because 62% of home buyers currently have a mortgage, meaning that most of people who are buying properties have to have insurance to be able to close, to be able to buy that property. It influences the mortgage payments. The cost of the insurance can influence the escrow account, the mortgage payments, and the ability to maintain the home and at the end be able to sell it. We've had a lot of homes that have been in the market for quite a while, not because they're bad homes, but because the insurance is so expensive that the numbers just don't make sense for most buyers. Before we get into the details of what affects insurance and why is it so expensive right now, we want to talk about two important things that perhaps you're not familiar with, but it's important that you know so that you can explain to your buyers what can potentially affect their insurance cost. So the state of Florida is being affected by the assignment of benefits. To put it in simple words, it's when people give the power to either an attorney or a private adjuster, a public adjuster, some people call it, or both. Sometimes people have both, an attorney and a public adjuster. This means that to settle that claim, now we have one or two additional parties that have to be paid in order to settle a claim, which drives the cost of settling these claims to much higher premiums or cost as opposed to having the client deal with the company directly. What a lot of people don't know, and especially in Florida, is that insurance has been a little bit demonized, and we hear on the radio, we hear people that we know telling us, when you have a claim, just hire an adjuster. Insurance companies don't pay. So now we're seeing the result of clients going directly to adjusters before they even have a conversation with the insurance company or even giving them a chance to handle the claim before involving somebody else. So that's assignment of benefits. The insurance score was something that didn't affect insurance premiums in the past. And now every company is using their date of birth and the address for the past 5 years to determine what we call the insurance score, which is a little bit of how the credit works, but it adds also the history of payments insurance wise and the amount of claims that you've had, if you've had claims involving other people, if you've had claims involving other third parties representing you. Automatically, people who have had claims in the past with third parties involved, even if it's not in the property that they're buying, they will be affected by it. So I'm sure you got a lot of people, especially nowadays, asking you guys, why is insurance so expensive? And it would be important for you guys to just have common knowledge. That way you guys can let them know that despite these three aspects in affecting the insurance, there are things that an individual can do to reduce the cost. So we just talked about the assignment of benefits. It's expensive because right now we're having to pay claims at a much higher price just so everybody can get paid. And the longer those claims take to be settled, the more expensive that they get. We also have Hurricane Irma, which is just now affecting premiums. People think that there is a hurricane and the next year they're going to be affected. It's usually 3 years later, just because the state allows up to 3 years after a hurricane to place claims. So up until September last year, people were claiming Hurricane Irma's damage. And then we have the reinsurance cost and claims. To put it in simple words, reinsurance are the ones that take the higher risk because they insure these insurance companies. Now, a lot of the cost paid during a hurricane comes from those reinsurances. So it isn't until now that we're going to see the effects of the 2017 hurricane season. So those are three things that you can simply let the clients know, the buyers know, that are currently affecting the market. But we're going to get into how they can reduce those prices. Everybody's familiar with getting inspections. And before I get into all the discounts and how it affects the premium, I want to emphasize that the minute that you put an offer on a home and it's accepted, you want to get the insurance inspections done as soon as possible. What we see all the time is agents and mortgage brokers waiting until the last minute to order inspections to then have to deal with a lot of surprises that come up during those inspections. So everybody knows that we have a 4-point inspection, which is eligibility only. It doesn't provide any discounts. Then we have the wind mitigation, which is the one that provides discounts depending on how strong the roof is and if there is any hurricane protection throughout the home. And then we have the elevation certificate if a property is located in a flood zone. Not all properties are located in a flood zone. However, for us insurance agents, the entire state is a flood zone because there have been so many people affected by flooding, even in areas that they believe is not a high risk zone. We can look back at 2017 and remember how Texas was affected by flooding with water rising up to the top of the roof, and most of these people were considered in an X zone, which is a non-risky zone for flooding. So even if people are not located in a risky zone, I always suggest that they get flood because it's very inexpensive. It's like $1 a day, and it's definitely needed in Florida. So those are the three inspections that usually you will see being ordered. The 4-point inspection is crucial because any issues on that 4-point inspection is going to keep us from being able to bind a policy. In the past, before 2017, I would say, and for people who have been in the business for quite a while, they might remember that insurance companies would give clients 30 days to fix whatever deficiencies a new home had for a new purchase. Now, those deficiencies have to be fixed prior to the closing. Otherwise, there is no evidence of insurance. So we're dealing with a lot of properties, the properties that are left in the market being those that have a lot of structural issues that usually come up on the 4-point. You guys already might be running into properties that have flat roofs, even if it's a small portion. If it's running out of life expectancy, it's hard to get insurance. We're running into a lot of full roofs that have not been replaced in the past 15 years, that's going to be difficult to insure as well. We're looking at problems with water. Water damage is very common in Florida. So any existing water damage that might come up on those inspections definitely need to be fixed prior to be able to bind coverage, therefore prior to be able to close on the home. So those are the things that you want to be aware of. The most common ones, like I said, are water issues. You know, usually they go and they find a stain on the wall, or a leak, whether it's an AC leak or plumbing leak. Those are the common ones. Again, needs to be fixed prior to closing. And then we also have a lot of issues with the conditions of the roofs for the properties that are left in the market. It seems like the good properties with newer roofs or roofs that have permits, are no longer in the market. And making a stop when it comes to the permits, unfortunately in Florida, if a roof or any other of the 4 points, the main 4 points of the home, hasn't been updated with the right permits for the company, is as if they hadn't had any updates at all. So encourage sellers, if you deal with sellers, to do any work with permits, because otherwise it's going to affect the premium for a possible buyer. The wind mitigation, on the other hand, it's what gives discounts. So this is really what saves tons of money in premiums. The shape of the roof affects the cost, how strong the roof is, if it was permitted or not, and if there is hurricane protection. Those are the things that we look at the most. It's important that you know these basic points because you can also use them as a selling point when presenting a home to a potential buyer. If the roof is a hip roof, which I'll show you a picture of, that roof is going to save them potentially anywhere between $1,000 to $2,000 just because of the shape of the roof. So I'll show you guys in a minute and you can continue using it as a selling point. Hurricane protection is a well-known selling point. If a property has hurricane protection throughout the property, then the prices of insurance are going to be lower. Unfortunately, in Florida, if you have 30 windows, but one is not hurricane rated, they won't give you the credit at all. So what I've seen happening a lot in the market is that agents, real estate agents, are using the hurricane protection and the life expectancy of the roof as ways to facilitate conversation between the seller and the buyer and see if they can have any credits for the closing or even lower the price of the home. That's what I've seen so far. Let's move forward. Also, when trying to sell the property, you can talk about not only the roof and the plumbing, but you can talk about alarms. If the home is equipped to be plugged in or centrally monitored, automatically they can get anywhere from 10 to 15% discount on the home insurance. If they have newer ACs and water heaters, that can also potentially not necessarily give discounts, but it can potentially allow us to have better options through better markets. Ineligible, meaning you're going to have a difficult time finding insurance, so you might as well get proactive with these issues, are double taps, very common in Florida and super extremely easy to fix. It doesn't even require an electrician. Most of the time, a handyman can handle double taps. The plumbing is important because if you have polybutylene plumbing, you're automatically going to just have one option with it, which is Citizens. So learning to look into these inspections can help you have smart and educated conversations with your seller so that he doesn't get turned off by all these ineligible items. If the roof has less than 3 years life expectancy, which is, hold on, because I know I see the chat going. Okay. If the roof is running out of life expectancy, it doesn't necessarily mean that there's going to be an issue closing. It just means that we have to look into other options to be able to insure the property for the closing and give enough time for that roof to be replaced. So whenever you have a roof with 3 years or less life expectancy, get on the phone with your trusted agent and plan out how you're going to tackle it, because a regular homeowner's policy is not going to cut it. But there are solutions. There is different products that a client can buy for renovations, or what we call a builder's risk if they need to do a roof and a full kitchen or plumbing. Those are options that we have. So again, know that even though it's something that is going to require time to quote, because it's a more complicated risk if they have this type of issues, let the client know that there is solutions, and once they're fixed, they're probably going to get a better premium by the following year. Any structural damage is going to keep you from getting a regular homeowner's policy. So if you're dealing with people that have a mortgage, these uneligible issues are something that you want to look into, because they have to be fixed to be able to get a regular home insurance that is going to satisfy the requirements for the loan. Electrical fuses, easy fix as well. Active leaks, depending on how long that leak has been building up or where it's coming from, they tend to be easy to fix too. So I also encourage agents that deal mostly with sellers to have conversations with them and let them know that unfortunately the market has changed. Whereas before, somebody who wanted to sell the home could easily say, you know what, the home, it is what it is. I'm not doing anything. I don't want to spend money on it. You get it as you purchase it. That attitude unfortunately keeps a lot of new buyers from buying that property, because unfortunately they won't be able to lock the insurance needed to go through the closing. It can be a great home, but if these issues are not fixed beforehand, you're going to run into issues meeting the requirements for the mortgage. Okay, so here we have the roofs, the most basic, most common roofs that we see in Florida, which are the gable roof and then the hip roof. The hip roof is the one that I mentioned would give most discounts, as you would see the shape of the hip roof. And you can go on Google and do gable versus hip, and they'll give you aerial pictures where you can see how an actual hip roof looks like, but it can potentially save thousands of money to somebody. So if it saves money, use it as a selling point, because it does bring value to the structure of the property. The gable roof doesn't give that many discounts, but it's better than a whole flat roof. A lot of people believe that a flat roof is a better roof, and unfortunately in Florida it is not. It doesn't allow for the water to flow properly, and it usually causes pooling, which brings other damages, other structural damages down the road. So these are the two most common. In South Florida, we have gable roofs and flat and hip roofs, but then we have this small portion in the back or on the side that is a flat roof. Both roofs have to have more than 3-year life expectancy to be able to qualify. So if you have a flat roof that is running out of life expectancy, hit up the people that you know in your contacts, the contractors or roofing companies, and ask them, hey, I have this inspection. How can I increase the life expectancy of this roof? So this is when having contacts and having your network and using it really comes into play, because if you have plumbers, if you have AC repairmen, if you have electricians, you get these inspections, the 4-point and the windmate, and you can be proactive in finding those solutions ahead of time, so it's not going to be an issue at closing. And I just mentioned the support network, which is important for you guys as well as me. I have a really big support network of plumbers, AC, roofing companies, shutter companies, impact windows. If you guys have properties that have doors or windows that are not meeting code, you'll benefit from having in your contacts an impact window or door company that can at least let you know how much it would take to fix just that one problem, and you can give the solution to the client before they even know it's a problem. We want to take a look at the roof expectancy, like I said, and you want to provide the client, if you already work with an agent, or if you don't have an agent, I'm happy to help. But moving forward, because most homes have a lot of work to do, you want to be able to provide a quote to the client with the home as is, And another quote with how much it would be once they fix all these issues, because a lot of buyers get turned off by thinking that the initial year, the initial insurance premium for the first year is going to represent how much they're going to continue moving forward, and that's not necessarily the case. So be proactive and ask your agent to give you a quote with the current credits and taking into consideration the current credits versus once they fix everything, whether it's the roof or adding an impact rated door. We like to be able to give those options so they have peace of mind in knowing that there is a light at the end of the tunnel and they're not going to stuck paying thousands and thousands for insurance. I'm sure you guys have worked with insurance agents before. I work with people like you every day. So it is important that we support each other, whether mortgage brokers, real estate agents, and insurance, just because we all have to work together to make sure that closing goes through. So if you don't have an insurance agent in your team, I highly recommend that you do. If you've never been involved in the insurance of the process of your closing, I highly recommend that you do because you have the power to either bring connections or bring solutions to the table to fix those little issues that can potentially keep you from closing. Working with an agent will facilitate everything for you, will keep you from having to justify insurance premiums, and you just leave it to us to explain to the client and work with the client to find a product that works for them. And I am going to go over this really quick, but it's pretty much going over everything. But these are important things that you want to consider and that I've seen happen very often. One is the real estate agent or the mortgage broker letting a client know that the insurance is going to be around this price or the other without having any inspections or having had any quotes. This always lets the client to feel disappointed and cheated on when they feel that somebody told them the insurance was going to be this much, but then they get 2, 3 times more than what they expected. Another point, again, encourage your clients to get those inspections done as soon as possible because you have weeks to work on any deficiencies. So the sooner the better. Don't wait last minute. Never, ever, ever, and I say ever because I've seen horrible cases where either the mortgage broker or the real estate agent facilitate the purchase of the policy and they're kind of the middleman. You can be potentially be held liable for anything that happens insurance related just because you were involved in the process of buying the insurance. So once you connect your client to the insurance agent, let them handle it. Of course, you want to have a conversation with your trusted insurance agent to see what can be done or how you can be proactive, but never make insurance coverage decisions for a client or influence the decision making. And especially when we're tight on budget, that you tell them, remove this and then you can add it, or just refrain from it because it can definitely come back to you. And that would be it on my end. I don't know if anybody has any questions. Let me close this out so I can answer. I hope I didn't go too fast. I hope I was clear, but I'm happy to answer any questions now. Actually, let me pull this up.
Catherine, that was actually very good information, and thank you so much for sharing that. I don't know if you guys were able to had some takeaways, some points that you were able to take away right away, but I got at least 5 things that I thought it was really interesting, and that has to do with what most owners or property owners or buyers coming into buying a property, they need to know, and it is how to save money, right, on insurance. And some of the takeaways were to you mentioned something about alarm system, having centrally monitor alarm system in place, protecting your home with shutters, impact windows, getting the right contractors in place, and providing an estimate. Maybe you can help your client doing this as well. Actually, there was another thing that caught my attention, and it's actually your credit, improving the credit. That's something that a lot of us don't keep that in mind. Also, bring main systems up to code if there's anything wrong with the property, and always put the required permits for all systems and updates. So I thought it was really good to know. One thing that we should always keep in mind is that we gotta control what we can control, and that is how can we help our customers. If we have the listing, we can even have the vendors in place that can potentially provide that to the contractors, the insurance agent, connect them with our people. In this case, we can refer to you. I put your information in the chat for everyone to see, but it would be a great contact to have the insurance agent on your side that you can potentially provide that service to the potential buyers going to buy your home, or if you're working with the buyer. If any of you have any other input or takeaways, please feel free to share. Or if you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourself and ask Catherine.
Or if you have a home that's stuck on insurance right now, I'm happy to help too. But um, I think the most important thing that I want everybody to take away from this is the importance of having a good, reliable network, because so many closings are taking way longer than they need to be taking, just because of the lack of support that a real estate agent could have around, like you mentioned, having that network of contractors, that it gives you so much control that you're not just sitting around waiting for the closing to happen whenever it happens. You're being proactive. Not only that, but in terms of client satisfaction, especially because I talk to buyers all the time and they give me feedback about the agent, is that the more you facilitate for people, especially those moving to a new area, those moving and they don't know anybody around here, they they become loyal people. For mortgage brokers, that means that they become somebody who they might refinance with later. For me, become somebody who stays in the books for longer. But with you guys, it's word of mouth. So whenever you're able to go the extra mile and differentiate, especially from my point of view as an agent, I get to see real estate agents all the time, and what makes it really different is those that come off as somebody who's just not working alone. You want to work with a team that supports you and that gives you that the knowledge that you don't have. You're not supposed to know it all. You're not supposed to be an agent, a mortgage broker. You're not supposed to know things that are not related to the real estate transaction. But you can definitely have a team around you that, despite them not necessarily working with you in the office, to a buyer, that is somebody who's part of your team. So that would be the main suggestion that I would leave, that is not necessarily insurance related, but I see just facilitate closings left and right. I have agents who I work with. They know they can send me the inspections, they get the quotes. I'm going to tell them this is how much right now, but let them know that this is how much it's going to be once they fix this, and that. And that makes a difference because you are the one in control of the whole transaction. You're not leaving it up to anybody else. And this applies to inspections, to appraisals, to the hurricane.
Hi, Catherine.
Yes.
Yes, I have two questions. First of all, great presentation.
Thank you.
My client sold her house last year, and she had a claim for damages to the roof. And the insurance now is that they're going to pay on it, but since they sold the house, they don't want to pay them even though they had no mortgage on the property. Is there something they can do at this time?
Did they place the claim directly to the company at the time of the loss?
No, they used what do you call this?
Adjuster.
An adjuster, yeah.
Yeah. See, here's the issue with using adjusters, especially, like, I'll give you an example. Hold on, I'll give you an example. Unfortunately, because of the situation with the adjusters, companies have become very just picky, and in this case, the minute a homeowner signs that document, they're giving up all the rights. So not even that person can represent their own claim anymore. It's up to their chances. Problem with adjusters is that there are really good adjusters. There are situations in which you need a public adjuster to defend you because nothing is perfect. I'm not gonna say insurance always covers or the person they assigned for the claim is going to have good faith always. No, I've seen cases happen, but unfortunately, in the case of your client, everything now has to be done through that person who is now representing them. And if they place that claim way far down the road, even if the state allows 3 years, the companies get really suspicious when it's been 3 years and you're just, or 2 even, and you're just placing an IRMA claim because of so much fraud. So I would say that if this is a citizen's policy, she can get an advocate, and you can email me and I can send you some information. But if it's citizens does provide an advocate for the person, especially if they went into a third-party representation, to see how that person can resolve or at least get some of the money that they spent on fixing the home. Because I'm assuming they already fixed the home out of their own pocket, right? If you email me, I'll give you the contact for the Citizens Advocate group, which helps the insured. But if it's another company, unfortunately, everything has to be through the person representing them. And that's why it's so important to have these conversations with people and to not spread false information, because again, people believe automatically that insurance is here to rip them off. But what we're seeing now is that people can no longer afford their homes because they use a third-party representation, or they've had a bunch of little claims that they place with a public adjuster. All these things that in the long term will make it difficult for them to keep the home for at least 15, 30 years.
Ezekiel, I muted you because of the feedback we were getting over Catherine's answer, but feel free to unmute yourself. We appreciate the input and the response. If anyone else has any questions, feel free to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I had the second question. I'm sorry. And the second question was regarding the actual cost of the insurance. Can we go based on the existing insurance on the property? You know, when and if not, what percentage? You know, I would never give a customer or a client an estimate on insurance because that's not my business, of course. But sometimes they do wonder. It's like how much. You know, how much can insurance cost about the actual price right now?
Okay, so that's a really good question. Really, really good question. You cannot necessarily go based on whatever the current owner is paying, because that current owner could have this policy for 10 years and be grandfathered in prices from 10 years ago. What you could use it is as a reference point, as in conversation that would be a worst case scenario, this would be your premium, what they're paying, or best case scenario. It's a slippery slope, because even the credit from the other person who's selling the home is affecting that premium. So if they have great credit in the 800s, but your new buyer it's at 700, their premium is essentially going to change for the same home just based on that credit. I would say, however, that what I've seen during the pandemic and when the market just went crazy is that it is about 1% of the purchase price. What we're seeing insurance coming up to be 1%, more or less, depending on how valuable the home is. If it's high value, if it's over $700,000, now we're talking about a different type of individual that he's going to need different type of insurance needs. But if we're talking about a $300,000, $250,000 home up into like $500,000, you can count on the insurance to be around 1% of the purchase price.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
That is very good. Anyone else? Any other questions?
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Ezekiel, for the good questions.
All right. One thing that I would recommend is for all of you here, and that's why I was very interested in having Catherine coming over and talking to you guys is once you have any vendor, contractors, insurance agent, you name it, it's always recommended for you to call them up, interview them, talk to them. Okay, you want to make sure that they are experts in what they do because they're representing you when you're doing a deal or you're with a seller or with a buyer. And Catherine, she specializes in insurance, but her specialty is helping real estate agents, mortgage professionals, and helping them getting the right insurance and getting your client the right vehicle so they can save money at the end of the day. So Catherine, I know you have an Instagram page. If anybody wants to follow you, where can they go?
It is Insure with Cat. I had it up on my presentation as well on each one. It has a little bit of information on different, you might forget a lot of things that I talked about today, and you can always reference back to that Instagram because it has a lot of what I talked about today where you can just look at it, even share with your buyers. That's where you most likely find me. You can always email me, call me. I'm happy to answer any questions insurance related. I agree. You should build a relationship with an agent and with an inspector and everybody that you're having in your team because we essentially become an extension of you, and whatever experience they have is going to, unfortunately, for better or worse, be an extension of you. So you can reach me there, you can call me, you can text me. So I'm pretty accessible. Any questions that you might have, I'll be happy to answer.
Catherine, you can share your screen again. I stopped your screen share just so we could, talk with between ourselves
Right
here.
here.
But go ahead and put that up again. Yep.
So right there is my info. If you guys come across those difficult homes that you're just finding it hard to insure, keep me in mind. I have access to pretty much every single insurance vendor in Florida. So I will do the shopping for the customer and for you and see how we can facilitate the closing for them. It's not necessarily always about the cheapest. It's also making sure that your client is set up for success because that's what leaves that gratitude with their real estate agent to where they refer their family members and friends and continue coming back to you if they want to buy other properties.
True. One thing that I take advantage of is when, let's say I'm working with a buyer, they're closed on their home, and we're able to get them the right insurance. It's always that I already put that in my calendar as a way of touch back with them, a year later, or rather a few more prior to the renewal, and just reminding them, if they did anything on the home, that keep that in mind because they can always save a little bit of money on the insurance. Maybe they added alarm system, maybe they added shutters or impact windows, you name it. You're not sure. So this is a great opportunity to stay relevant in front of your customers and connecting them with your sphere of vendor and people like Catherine that can potentially help them even better their insurance. Remember this, sometimes, most of the time, buyers have their insurance and taxes included in the mortgage. So just because it's included in there, out of sight, out of mind, they'll probably will forget. And sometimes they get the letter and they just throw it out. But you get the call, you get to call them, you get to follow up with them, you continue building that relationship and connecting them with the right people. This will help you stay relevant in front of them. Catherine, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so happy that you were able to make the time for us. We really appreciate that. I appreciate everyone here today for joining us for Real Estate Friday. We're here every Friday at 1. Catherine, if you want to, join back any other time after that, this is a great networking event as well.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. If I can help with anything else, I'm only a call away.
Thank you, Catherine.
So Real Estate Friday with Daylon Rabito. Thank you, Daylon. And we do this every Friday and also Mindset Monday. Make sure you register for Mindset Monday at www.brokernation.events. All of these over 90 episodes now, almost 90 episodes. Daylon, I understand you're also an author. You've put this together into a book. For those of you that don't know, Daylon is a real estate investor, entrepreneur, a broker of Broker Nation Doral. which is growing, even under COVID, is growing exponentially, and an author. Daylon, where could we learn more about some of these information that you drop on Real Estate Friday and everything in maybe a collection of a book?
Right. Steve, thank you so much for bringing that out. And yes, there is a book. You can get it completely free. This is it's a way of helping you as an agent to grow and succeed and become a top producing agent in today's market. So it's a combination of old school with new school and everything that I have personally gone through and everything that I have learned. I've been putting it together into this book. And this kind of started last year when we started the whole pandemic. And what a best way to start the year strong by downloading the book. There it is. The book is on the screen. Ray, it's showing it right now. But you can go to daylanrubido.com and you'll be able to download the book, the digital version, completely free. Please do so. We're actually revising it as we speak, because in the resources section, we're adding more vendors, people that we have personally worked with, that we will recommend. Catherine, most likely you're gonna be in there, but so this is a reference, this is a guide for you to take advantage of what other people have learned, they're doing, they're having success at it. This is for you to put it into, implement it in your business. So go to daylanrubido.com and download your digital version. Now, this presentation that we had today is being recorded, as you know, and please feel free to share with other agents. Maybe they're not with our company. Share with them. Share with your spheres. Share with friends. Share with your clients, because a lot of information that Catherine just mentioned today is very valuable for your customer. So feel free to share that. And if you know anybody, or even you visiting us for the very first time, please go to joinbrokernation.net. You're going to see more information about our company. You're going to see what we're all about and how we are helping agents grow in today's market. So again, go to daylanrubido.com and download the free digital version of the guide on how to becoming a top real estate agent. And if you're on the fence and you're like, man, I really want to join a company that's going to take me to the next level, go to joinbrokernation.net and schedule your meeting. I'll be more than happy to sit with you. We'll talk, and you guys are with a company, schedule a meeting with a broker. I mean, don't hold back. Let's sit down, let's talk, and let's see how we can take you to the next level. With that said, please register for Mindset Monday. It's going to be really interesting. Make sure you took notes of Catherine's information. I'll be more than happy to share. I'm going to do a follow-up email and share it with everybody, so you have her information. And with that said, please have a happy Friday. Enjoy your weekend. I'll see you guys next week. Please stay safe. Catherine, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Doug.
Bye, Doris. Bye, everybody.
Bye. Take care.